Alright, strap in folks, because we are starting off with zero chill. We open on a scene that screams, "I need therapy," where some armored maniac labeled number 1 is playing whack-a-mole with another dude's skull. He's smashing the guy into the pavement like he owes him money, and the peanut gallery in the back is just standing there going, "Wow, so graceful," instead of, calling the cops. But wait, it gets edgier. Our aggressor pulls out a glowing Rubik's Cube of death, forces it into the victim's helmet like the world's worst dentist, and hits us with the classic, "open wide." The poor guy is muffling screams, number 1 drops a one-liner that smells like teenage angst, "See you in hell, asswipe," and boom, mushroom cloud. Subtlety is officially dead. And, shocker, it's a video game. I know, you never saw that coming. We cut to the real world, where the guy behind the carnage is exactly who you expect him to be, Ryuta Sakamoto. A 22-year-old shut-in playing in a dark room that probably smells like energy drinks and despair. He's celebrating his 20th win for Team Sakamoto because naming the team after yourself is the humblest move imaginable. His teammates are hyping him up, talking about world rankings, and right on cue, a new challenger appears. It's the second-ranked team in the world. Sakamoto's face goes from bored to, "I haven't slept in 3 days" manic as we learn the gimmick of this game. Betomb. No guns, just explosives. Because evidently, bullets were too efficient. Sakamoto starts mashing buttons like he's trying to perform CPR on his controller. He's screaming, his teammates are screaming, "Kill, kill!" And the screen is just a seizure of explosions. Then we get the sad internal monologue. Sakamoto admits that in the real world, he's a jobless loser mooching off his mom, but in the game, he's a digital god. It's the isekai protagonist starter pack checklist, folks. Just as he's bragging about his virtual clout, reality decides to glitch out. The pixels vanish, replaced by nature? A butterfly flutters by, mocking him, and Sakamoto wakes up hanging from a parachute in a tree. So, Captain Unemployment wakes up dangling 50 feet in the air, groggy and confused. He looks up at the parachute like it's a calculus equation and immediately chooses panic. "What the hell is this?" he screams, realizing he has 0 upper body strength and is currently a human piñata. He thrashes around, shouting for help in an empty forest because that always works, before finally managing to unhook himself. He drops to the ground with all the grace of a sack of potatoes, crouching in the bushes and looking terrified. "Welcome to the great outdoors, buddy." The graphics are great, but the gameplay sucks. He stands up, surrounded by a jungle that looks way too tropical for Japan, and hits us with the mandatory, "Where on earth is this place?" line. He tries to remember how he got here, but his brain file is corrupted. One minute he was throwing digital bombs, the next he's Tarzan without the abs. He looks up at the parachute, checks himself for damage, and finds dried blood on his hand. Naturally, he pulls out a flip phone. Yes, a flip phone in the smartphone era. That's the real tragedy here, and snaps it open. No signal. Of course, if horror movies have taught us anything, it's that cell towers are allergic to plot progression. But it gets weirder. Sakamoto looks at his hand and notices a green crystal embedded in his skin. It's not glued on. It's in there. He freaks out, briefly wondering if aliens abducted him, which honestly would be a better explanation than whatever is actually happening. Then, he spots his loot drop. His shoulder bag, in the bushes. He raids it and finds his wallet, clothes, and a convenience store bag with a bottle of green tea. He chugs the tea like it's the nectar of the gods, giving us a saved face, and decides to start walking. So he's trekking through the jungle, and nature is being rude. It's hot, he's sweating buckets, and the bugs are massive. We're talking caterpillars the size of hot dogs and swarms of flies that have no respect for personal space. Sakamoto is swatting at them with a stick, complaining that real bugs are grosser than the ones on TV. He realizes he's probably in the tropics, goes to chug his tea again, but stops himself. Rationing. "I am a survivor." 3 seconds later, he walks face first into a spiderweb. So much for the cool survivor vibe. He's clawing at his face, spitting out silk, and screaming, completely defeated by a spider. Good luck, Captain. But hold on to your lunch, because the jungle isn't done hazing our boy yet. Ryuta is staring at a spiderweb when the landlord shows up. A spider the size of a dinner plate drops onto his arm with a wet plop. And because nature is metal, it's holding a butterfly and starts munching on it right there on his sleeve. We get full surround sound crunching noises. It's like a twisted ASMR video nobody asked for. Ryuta, being the brave warrior he is, handles this with dignity. Just kidding. Like a choir boy seeing a ghost, rips the bug off and sprints blindly through the woods. He is officially 0-2 against the local wildlife. He crashes through the bushes, lunges past the tree line, and faceplants into sand? He looks up, and suddenly the lighting budget triples. The dark, sweaty jungle is gone, replaced by a blindingly white beach and a sparkling blue ocean. It's the mandatory beach episode, 5 minutes into the series. But there's no bikini fan service here. Just Ryuta sitting in the sand, realizing he's stranded on a deserted island. He leans against a palm tree, looking moody, and cues the tragic flashback. We jump back to Ryuta's life in civilization, where we learn he's actually kind of a jerk. He runs into his mom in the hallway, and the vibe instantly drops to absolute zero. She tries to talk to him about a job application at a grocery store, hoping her adult son will finally contribute to society. Ryuta hits her with the "how dare you make me work" glare. He shuts her down, shouting that he refuses to be a cashier, because obviously he's destined for greater things, like screaming at spiders in a jungle. He storms off, leaving his poor mother standing there looking heartbroken. Wow, Ryuta, you're really making it hard to root for you, buddy. Cut to him walking out of a convenience store, clutching his bento box, when he gets intercepted by the Men in Black budget squad. 2 guys in suits verify his identity, and then brain blast. The headache returns. Back on the beach, Ryuta is clutching his skull, trying to remember the kidnapping, but his brain is throwing up a 404 error. The last thing he remembers is his mom's sad face, which serves him right for being the edgy son of the year. He decides thinking is too hard, clicks his tongue, and gives up. Night falls, and Ryuta's priority shifts to his stomach. He wolfs down his cold, convenience store bento by a fire, momentarily relieved he won't starve until tomorrow. But while looting his own bag, he finds something new. A utility belt that definitely wasn't part of his grocery run. He pulls out a small black cube. Did someone put this here? He wonders. Being a genius, he immediately starts fidgeting with it and accidentally presses a switch. A digital 10 lights up. Now, any sane person would gently set the object down. Ryuta? He panics. He realizes it's a bomb and yeets that thing down the beach like he's trying to skip a stone. The timer hits 0. He mutters a skeptical, "No way." And kaboom! The beach explodes. A massive shockwave knocks him on his butt, sand goes everywhere, and Ryuta is left coughing and staring at the crater. He looks back at the belt. Congratulations, Captain Unemployment. You aren't just stranded, you're stranded with enough C4 to level a city block. He's sitting there, hyperventilating, paranoia creeping in, when he spots a silhouette walking down the beach. A person. Rescue! Ryuta jumps up, waving his arms and yelling like a pirate who lost his ship. The stranger ignores him, keeps walking, stops, winds up like a pro baseball pitcher, and hurls something at him. Ryuta stands there confused, watching the object arc through the air until, surprise, it explodes in his face. Ryuta goes flying again. He scrambles up, coughing, and sees the stranger sprinting toward him with 0 chill. This isn't a rescue mission. It's a hunting trip. Ryuta looks at the belt, looks at the attacker, and finally, the 2 brain cells in his head make a connection. The cubes, the timers, the explosions. It's exactly like his favorite game. He clutches a bomb to his chest and thinks, "Is this a game? I'm supposed to play B-Toom for real." Yes, Ryuta. Welcome to the plot. Realizing that his keyboard warrior skills are now life or death skills, he freaks out. "Hell no, I'm not playing," he screams internally, grabbing his bag and bolting for the trees. He tries to nope out of the genre entirely, but the attacker isn't having it. Another bomb lands at his heels, detonating with a roar that nearly turns our protagonist into confetti. The message is loud and clear. Get good or get dead. Back at the tree line, our friendly neighborhood psychopath is currently screaming insults at a forest because, apparently, the trees look suspicious. But shouting takes a lot of energy, so he decides it's snack time. He whips out a blister pack of pills and downs them like they're breath mints. One isn't enough, so he pops a handful, eyes going wide. Nothing says stable mental state like dry swallowing mysterious pharmaceuticals in the middle of a death match. We get a quick flashback to confirm that, yes, this guy was trash in the real world too. We see him in a dark alley with his goon squad, shaking down a defenseless salaryman. When the guy says he's broke, our villain kicks him in the face, finds a wage envelope, and steals it for tuition fees. A classic scholarship. He laughs, tells the guy to burn in hell, and we cut back to the island where the karma bus is running late. He's sweating, panting, and high as a kite, vowing to murder Ryuta. Just a wholesome guy all around. Meanwhile, Ryuta is trying to apply his pro-gamer logic to real life. He's sneaking along the cliffs, telling himself that stealth is the key to victory. Spoiler alert, real life doesn't have crouch-walking mechanics. His stealth rating is absolute 0 because an explosion immediately rocks the cliff, nearly burying him. Ryuta is shocked that the guy he's running from actually followed him. Now cornered, Ryuta clutches a bim bomb and hits us with the most annoying trope in survival manga, the Batman complex. He realizes that if he uses the bomb, he'll kill the guy, and he just can't do that. Buddy, the guy is actively throwing grenades at your head. This isn't the time for a philosophy 101 debate. Ryuta runs, explosions singing his eyebrows, mentally screaming that he can't cross that line. It's pathetic to watch, honestly. High up on the ridge, Thug Life is starting to crash from his drug bender. He's dizzy, shaking, and wondering why Ryuta isn't shooting back. He correctly guesses that Ryuta is burdened by a pesky little thing called a conscience. Ryuta, finally desperate enough to try something, hurls a bomb at the cliff. It hits the water with a sad little splash. No boom. Ryuta, being the genius he is, assumes it's a dud. He hides under a rock, confused, trying to remember why the first one exploded. He fiddles with a new bomb, finds a switch, and presses it. Beep. Congratulations, you found the on button. Armed with this groundbreaking knowledge, he chucks the armed bomb. Yoshiaki scrambles back, terrified, but the bomb hits a rock, bounces off, and falls into the ocean. Ryuta screams in frustration because he thinks he failed again. But wait for it. A massive geyser of water shoots up. It was a timer type, not an impact type. Ryuta, you absolute walnut. Read the patch notes. Yoshiaki gets soaked, realizes his opponent has zero clue how the weapons work, and starts laughing. He knows he's hunting a noob. Ryuta retreats, crying about the lack of an instruction manual, while Yoshiaki closes in, fueled by drugs and the confidence of fighting someone incompetent. He laughs at Ryuta, calling him a lucky dog, and figures out Ryuta has memory loss and zero skills. He realizes Ryuta didn't trap him. Ryuta just ran into a dead end by accident. Desperate to regain control, Ryuta tries the diplomatic approach from the high ground. He yells, "Don't move," like a bad cop. He then proceeds to demand a Q&A session. Why are you attacking me? Where are we? What is this crystal? And finally the big one. Do you play B2? Imagine someone throwing a grenade at you and you asking for their Steam ID. Yoshiaki's response is perfect. He laughs, tells Ryuta to take his questions to hell, and answers with a bomb. It's an impact type this time. It hits the cliff, blows up in Ryuta's face, and sends him flying. Ryuta screams, shielding his head, while Yoshiaki curses his aim. Ryuta scrambles away, clutching his arm, crying into the void. Why is this happening to me? Because you brought a moral compass to a bomb fight. That's why. Ryuta crashes into some bushes and wildflowers, battered and broken. He lies there, finally admitting, I was an idiot. Yes, you were. Yoshiaki is screaming into the dark, mocking him, while Ryuta looks at the moon and accepts his death. It's a full-on pity party. But then, plot armor activates. The green crystal in Ryuta's hand starts glowing and he feels a sensation. He can sense Yoshiaki getting closer. He realizes the crystal is a radar. Awesome, a HUD. But then the second brain cell fires. If I can see him on radar, hiding is useless. Ryuta barely has time to think, oh, crap, before a bomb lands directly in his bush. Boom. Fire. Debris. End of round. Maybe check the minimap sooner next time. Another explosion rips up the cliffside, and Ryuta is officially having the worst beach vacation in history. He survives by cowering in a patch of wildflowers. How poetic, but quickly realizes that hiding in the salad isn't a long-term strategy. He tries to crawl away, but he's about to learn a hard lesson about privacy settings. Up on the ridge, Yoshiaki checks his hand and realizes the green crystal isn't just cheap jewelry, it's a radar. He has wall hacks enabled, folks. He sees Ryuta is still alive and nearby. Frustrated that his aim sucks, Yoshiaki decides to scan the terrain. He rules out the rocks and locks his sights on the only other hiding spot, the bushes. It's not rocket science, but for a guy currently hallucinating on uppers, it's a solid deduction. Ryuta grips his bomb, finally accepting that pacifism is going to get him killed. He realizes the radar makes stealth impossible, which is a major nerf to his playstyle. Meanwhile, Yoshiaki is fighting his own battle against withdrawal symptoms. A headache hits him like a freight train, so he downs a handful of pills to stay in the zone. Kids, don't do drugs, especially when handling high explosives. Down in the bushes, Ryuta's gamer brain finally reboots. He thinks back to the digital display and connects the dots. He's holding timer-type bombs. You know, the ones that require math and timing? Yoshiaki, on the other hand, is using impact types, which are just throw and boom. Ryuta realizes he's playing on hard mode. He knows he has to adapt his strategy to the game mechanics if he wants to see tomorrow. But the situation is getting critical. Ryuta realizes his hiding spot is actually a trap. Dry leaves make noise, and he's blind to the high ground. Panic starts to set in, but he forces himself to calm down. He hypes himself up, remembering he's the ace of the number 10 team in the world. That's right. Rely on your ranking in a video game to protect you from physical shrapnel. Totally works. He decides he refuses to die to a pill-popping junkie, which is a fair goal. Yoshiaki, however, decides to stop aiming and start spamming. He points at a ditch, yells, "Found you, dumbass," and prepares to fire. Ryuta, who is not in the ditch, breathes a sigh of relief, but Yoshiaki pauses. His two brain cells collide and create a spark. Wait, if I attack the ditch, the bushes might get me. So he pulls out a second bomb. His solution? Nuke the entire zip code. I'll just tackle both sides at once, he laughs. It's the spray and pray method, and Ryota is out of time. Realizing he's about to be turned into fertilizer, Ryota screams like he's powering up for a final form, bursts out of the bushes, and dives off the cliff. Yoshiaki watches in disbelief. "You idiot!" he screams, convinced Ryota just committed suicide by gravity. He leans over the edge, mocking the splash, asking how long Ryota can hold his breath before he surfaces for a face full of fire. But while Yoshiaki is busy monologuing like a generic villain, Ryota is pulling a pro gamer move underwater. He's chilling beneath the surface, watching the bubbles rise. Why? Because he left a parting gift. We cut to the timer on the bomb Ryuta left behind on the cliff. 7, 6, 5. Yoshiaki is still laughing, completely unaware he's standing on a landmine. The timer hits 2. The hunter is about to become the very exploded prey. Yoshiaki is having a great time calling Ryuta a coward until he hears the beep. He looks down between his feet. The timer says 01. His eyes go wide. It was at this moment he knew he messed up. The trap springs. The explosion channels directly upward, turning Yoshiaki into a human firework. The title of the show, Tomb, echoes across the island just in case you forgot what you were watching. Underwater, Ryuta watches the show. It's muffled and eerie, but effective. Debris rains down into the depths, followed by, yep, that's a severed head. Yoshiaki's head drifts past him like a grim fishing trophy. Ryuta stares at it, realizing that he won, but the price was, decapitating a guy. Ryuta drags himself onto the shore and immediately projectile vomits seawater. He's coughing, retching, and shaking. The adrenaline crash hits hard. He looks up at the moon, shivering in the wet sand, and the denial finally breaks. This isn't a dream. It isn't a simulation. He just killed a man. He breaks down sobbing, begging to go home. It's a heavy moment, folks. The reality of the battle royale genre is a lot less fun when you can't respawn. He stands up in the smoke of the blast site, staring at the carnage. It's a mess. There are bits of Yoshiaki everywhere. A hand here, a bone there. It's like a jigsaw puzzle nobody wants to solve. Ryuta almost pukes again but forces himself to swallow it. He starts the rationalization chant. It was self-defense. I didn't do anything wrong. Whatever helps you sleep at night, buddy. But then, the gamer instinct kicks in. He steps on something hard. It's Yoshiaki's utility belt. He opens it up and finds a stash of impact-type bombs. The crying stops, the looting begins. He just upgraded his loadout from the body of his enemy. Welcome to the game, Ryota. You're officially a player now. So, Ryota is standing on the cliff, holding a dead guy's explosives. And his first thought isn't, I need therapy. It's, I need to loot this body. He realizes the survival mechanics are exactly like his video game, so he accepts his new life as a murderer with alarming speed. Looting is essential for the grind. This triggers a flashback to the glory days, where we find out Ryuta was actually a big deal online. His teammates worshipped him, telling him he knew B-Toon better than the devs. We cut to the offices of Tyrannos Japan, the game studio, where a developer named Ida is buttering Ryuta up. He calls Ryuta essential, which Ryuta hears as, please hire me. But when our boy asks for a paycheck, the vibe shifts faster than a mood swing. Ida hits him with the corporate, it's not you, it's the budget speech. We can't hire you, but feel free to work for free. Ryuta leaves, realizing he's just a glorified beta tester with zero job prospects. Ouch. Back at home, Ryuta handles this rejection with the maturity of a toddler. He's sitting in the dark, gaming, when his mom tries to enter his lair. Don't come in without permission, he snapped. She's trying to be a parent, he's trying to be a brat. The flashback continues to the intervention episode. His mom suggests he get a job at his uncle's udon shop, because being unemployed for 2 years is not a career path. Ryuta, still clinging to his pipe dream of game development despite the rejection letter he practically just got, dismisses her. When she pushes for him to get a respectable job, Ryuta loses it. He screams, "Shut up, Mom," and hurls his controller across the room. It misses her head by an inch and embeds itself in the wall. That's right, folks. Our protagonist is a violent man-child who almost assaulted his mother because she asked him to make noodles. Truly the hero we deserve. Back on the island, the radar chip goes ping, snapping Ryuta out of memory lane. He's crouching in the bushes, shaking, and realizes his stomach is emptier than his resume. He puked everything up earlier, so now he's starving. He scans the area and spots a rare spawn, a girl. She's washing up by the water, wearing a school uniform because anime laws dictate it. But more importantly, she has a suitcase full of loot. Ryuta's hungry eyes lock onto a bottle of tea and a bread roll. Forget the girl. He wants the carbs. But this girl has survival instincts. She senses a creeper nearby, slams her suitcase shut, and bolts like she's trying to beat a speedrun record. Ryuta steps out, confused. Wait, I just want your snacks, he thinks, splashing through the water to chase her. He shouts for her to wait, which historically has never convinced a terrified girl to stop running in a murder forest. She vanishes into the trees. Ryota stands there, realizing he just lost his only lead on food. Good job, Ace. Panic turns to strategy. He remembers the chip. It woke him up earlier because she was near. It's a radar. He decides to flip the script. I'll do the tracking this time, he says, trying to sound cool. He's going from prey to predator. He focuses on the chip until it glows, desperate to find the girl and her magical suitcase of bread. He stalks through the jungle, following the blip. The target is stationary. He's got her. He creeps up, bursts through the bushes, and shouts, "Don't move!" And it's not the girl. It's a middle-aged man with his pants around his ankles, taking a dump in the woods. The man falls backward, screaming for mercy, and, I kid you not, steps in his own pile. Ryota stands there, traumatized. He was expecting a waifu with a sandwich, and he got a pooping salaryman named Tyra. This show really knows how to subvert expectation. Tyra is hysterical, begging for his life while dealing with the most embarrassing hygiene malfunction of all time. Once the awkwardness settles, and Tyra washes his pants in the river, thank God, we get the exposition dump. Tyra explains he was abducted by men in black and woke up on a cargo plane with 20 other confused people. Tyra mentions Ryuta is lucky he doesn't remember the flight because it was nightmare fuel. We flash back to the plane. It's dark, cold, and full of masked guards. A monitor lights up, and we meet the planner, a guy in a striped suit who looks like a rejected circus host. He welcomes them to a fun game full of thrills, which is villain code for "you're all going to die." The passengers react about as well as you'd expect. One guy screams, "You're insane!" Others threaten lawsuits, and the Karen energy is off the charts. The guards respond with diplomacy. Just kidding, they tase everyone. Bodies drop. The rebellion is crushed in 5 seconds flat. Welcome to the game, folks. No lawyers allowed. The guards decide they're tired of answering questions, so they hit the passengers with the classic "we're only saying this once" speech. On the monitor, the planner shows up, a guy who looks like a clown college dropout, and drops the bombshell. You're all here to kill each other with bombs. Welcome to the worst party ever. Back in the present, Tyra, who is still recovering from his little accident in the bushes, apologizes for forgetting the clown's name, but he remembers the speech pattern because it was creepy as hell. The plane was heading for a deserted island with 0 room service. No food, no water, no hope. The planner made it clear. If you want to go home, you have to clear the game. It's a battle royale, folks, because of course it is. Then comes the mechanics update. The planner explains that the lump in everyone's hand isn't a tumor, it's an IC chip. It tracks you, scans you, and here's the kicker, it only comes out if your heart stops beating. It's the ultimate DRM. To leave the island, you need 8 chips. Everyone starts with 1. Do the math. You need to murder 7 people to unlock the Go Home achievement. It's like a loyalty punch card, but for homicide. Tyra then explains why Ryuta's memory is full of static. Apparently, while everyone else was crying, Ryuta decided to be that guy. He started screaming, "Hey, this is just like the game!" The guards, presumably tired of his fanboy commentary, decided to shut him up the hard way. They tased him directly in the face. Tyra calls it a shock to the noggin, which is a cute way of saying severe neurological trauma. Ryuta touches his head and realizes, yep, that explains the amnesia and the dried blood. He didn't hit his head falling. He got rebooted by a stun baton. This triggers a flashback, and oh boy, it's a rough one. We're back on the plane, and the guards are done asking politely. They tase a woman point blank and yeet her out of the cargo bay like a bag of garbage. The other passengers start screaming "murderer," which is technically accurate, while the guards shout, "You're next." The planner is on the screen chirping. Don't worry, the parachutes are automatic, which is definitely a lie you tell people before pushing them to their doom. Back in the present, Ryuta doubles over, screaming as his brain injury decides to remind him it exists, but he pushes through the pain because he needs the rest of the story. We cut back to the plane. The guards are running out of flight time, so they stop selecting people and start stampeding them. They level their weapons and force everyone toward the open hatch. It's mass panic. People are screaming, falling, and getting shoved into the void. And Ryuta? He's unconscious, drooling on the floor. The guards look at him, decide he's just extra baggage, strap his gear on, and toss his limp body out of the plane. No dignity, just gravity. Tyra watches this happen right before he gets booted out himself. The sky fills with parachutes, delivering fresh meat to the island. Tyra wraps up his story, and the puzzle pieces finally click for Ryuta. The blood, the tree, the parachute, It all matches. He wasn't abducted by aliens. He was knocked out and airdropped by a paramilitary geek squad. But solving the how just leads to the who. Ryota realizes everything. The BIMs, the radar chips, the Collect 8 rule is a literal copy-paste of Btoon. He refuses to believe it's a coincidence. He digs into his brain files and recognizes the planner from the monitor. It's a guy he saw at the game studio. The conclusion hits him like a brick. The people behind this nightmare are the creators of the game, Tyrannos Japan. Talk about a toxic workplace cult. They didn't just reject his job application, they kidnapped him to be a beta tester for the live-action version. So Ryota is standing in the middle of the jungle, and the terms and conditions of this death game finally load in his brain. The rule is simple: collect 8 chips. He has 1. That means he needs to delete 7 other human beings from the server. The realization hits him like a lag spike. He gets a PTSD flashback to the guy he just blew up. The severed head, the gore, the smell. Remember, Ryota isn't a soldier, he's a guy who spends 18 hours a day in a gaming chair. Killing 1 person nearly broke his mind. Now the game says, good job, do it 6 more times to unlock the ending. He crouches in the dirt, terrified, wondering if he can desensitize himself enough to treat real people like NPCs. Spoiler alert, the graphics are way too realistic for that. He's sitting by the river, spiraling, when Tyra, the pantless pooping man from earlier, interrupts his mental breakdown with a friendly thumbs up. Tyra proposes a team up. Let's survive together, he says, Tyra, smiling like he's asking for a loan. Ryuta's gamer brain immediately runs the numbers, and they look bad. Safety in numbers is great, but they share the win condition. If they team up, they don't need 8 chips, they need 16. That means 14 bodies. Teaming up literally doubles the grind. Ryuta looks at Tyra and asks, okay, how do we handle the deathmatch part? And Tyra drops the bomb. Metaphorically, of course. He says, oh, I'm a pacifist. I'm 100% against killing. Ryuta almost facepalms through his skull. Great. He found the one guy trying to do a pacifist run in a shooter game. He writes Tyra off as a softie and a burden. Tyra sees the hesitation, sighs, and assumes he's being rejected for being an old geezer, so he starts to walk away. But Ryuta, realizing he's lonely and desperate, stops him. Fine, we're a team, he says, but he tries to pull an alpha gamer move. Show me your inventory, he demands. If I'm carrying you, I need to know what BIMs you have. It's a classic power play. And here is where the old man flips the script. Tyra refuses. He calmly explains that if he reveals his weapons, he loses his leverage. He calls it paying proper respect, but we all know it's just mutually assured destruction. If I show you my hand, you might kill me. If I keep it secret, you have to trust me. Ryuta is stunned. He thought Tyra was a moron, but it turns out the guy has maxed out his charisma and speech stats. Ryuta realizes that while he knows bombs, Tyra knows people. He admits defeat, calls him a sly old dog, and agrees to the deal without seeing the goods. The alliance is formed. Ryuta Sakamoto and Tyra, the real estate agent, versus the world. They shake hands, and the heartwarming moment is immediately ruined by Tyra's stomach sounding like a dying engine. He's starving. Ryuta checks his pockets for food and finds a single breath mint. He hands it over like it's a legendary item. Don't eat it all at once, he implies. They exchange bios. Tyra is from Osaka. Ryuta is polite to his elders, when suddenly a mechanical roar fills the sky. Tyra notes it's the same time as yesterday. Ryuta's pattern recognition kicks in, and they sprint to a ridge to investigate. They spot a massive cargo plane flying low, dropping silver cases on parachutes. Tyra, the eternal optimist, eyes wide with hope, says, "Is it a rescue?" Ryuta shuts that down instantly. "No, you walnut, it's a balance patch." He remembers the girl with the suitcase full of food. He realizes the devs, Tyrannos Japan, are dropping rations. Why? Because if everyone starves, they stop killing each other. The game gets boring if the players are napping. The supply drop isn't mercy, it's fuel. The organizers are basically saying, here's a sandwich, now get back to murder. Tyra is staring up at the parachutes like a kid on Christmas morning, calling the supplies a godsend. Meanwhile, Ryuta, who actually possesses a survival instinct, realizes that free loot means a server-wide event. He leaves Captain Optimism behind and sprints for the crates, estimating a 10-minute cardio session. But he's not the only one hungry for loot. He spots a woman on the opposite ridge rocking a leopard print headband, because nothing says tactical camouflage like leopard print in a green jungle. She's fast, she's athletic, and Ryuta realizes he made a rookie mistake. The plane noise was basically a dinner bell for every psychopath on the island. It's a foot race now. Fastest one wins, he thinks. No, Ryuta. The one with the most plot armor wins. He navigates a treacherous cliff, panting and sweating, and spots the silver case. He thinks he's first, but his spidey sense tingles. He hesitates. Leopard print lady, however, has zero chill. She reaches the case first and screams, "Score! It's all mine!" Lady, you are in a survival horror manga. Celebrating early is the #1 cause of death, and boom. There it is. She steps near the crate and a mine detonates. The explosion engulfs the entire ledge, turning her victory lap into a barbecue. Ryuta gets blasted by the shockwave and clings to the rocks, watching the carnage. The woman is scorched earth, literally, and the supply case is just sitting there, mocking her. It wasn't a drop zone, it was a spawn trap. Someone is camping the objective. Out of the smoke steps our camper, a tall dude with long hair and sunglasses. Yes, sunglasses. In a dense jungle, under a canopy of trees. He watches the woman choke on her own blood, cursing him out, and he decides this is the perfect moment for a one-liner. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Oh, vomit. That line is so cheesy, I'm surprised the explosion didn't reject it. He pries the chip out of her hand, loots her gear, and Ryuta spots an aqua scorpion tattoo on his arm. Great, we have a villain with a bad catchphrase and a custom skin. Ryuta watches Edgy McTryhard walk away and finally connects the dots. The supply drop wasn't a lifeline, it was bait. The devs dropped the food in the open to cluster the players together and force PvP. Ryuta realizes that if he had been 5 seconds faster, he'd be the one extra crispy on the rocks. He imagines his own corpse and screams, "Why? The sky?" Ryuta, stop asking the sky question, it's not gonna answer. The game is forcing you to choose, starve or kill. Morals are officially out of stock. Now let's take a hard left turn into childhood trauma corner. We meet a kid named Kusuke Kira and his guardian, Natsume. Natsume hears a wet thumping sound in the woods. Is Kusuke chopping wood? Building a shelter? Nope. He's swinging a stick and counting. 98, 99, 100. He shouts it like he just leveled up. Natsume walks over and realizes the kid isn't hitting rocks, he's slaughtering frogs. The ground is a graveyard of amphibians. Kusuke turns around with a bright, innocent smile and shows off the carnage. Look at the gross frogs I smashed. Okay, someone call a therapist or an exorcist, preferably both. Later, they're on the beach and Kusuke decides to drop a philosophical bomb. He asks with genuine confusion, why is it wrong to kill living things? Natsume starts sweating bullets. He tries the empathy argument, but Kusuke isn't buying it. The kid points out that humans eat meat, so why is smashing frogs bad? I'm not stupid, he says, sulking. He admits he literally cannot process guilt. If it doesn't hurt him, why does it matter? Natsume snaps, saying, it's just wrong, period. Which is the adult equivalent of, because I said so. Kosuke writes him off as lazy. He hits us with the red light analogy. If you stop at a red light on a deserted road at 3 a.m., you're an idiot. Rules only exist if someone is watching. Natsume realizes this kid is a narcissist in training and calls him out on only caring about himself. Kusuke just looks confused. Their debate is interrupted by, you guessed it, a supply drop parachute. Natsume wonders if it's a rescue, but decides they should go get Kusuke's dad first. And suddenly, the mood shifts from creepy to homicidal. Kusuke's face goes dark. He stares at the ground, shadows covering his eyes. Clearly, Daddy and Kusuke have some unresolved issues. The flashback fades and we're back to Ryuta on the cliff, staring at the island, realizing he's trapped in a game with frog-smashing sociopaths and campers with sunglasses. Good luck, buddy. Back on the cliffs, Ryuta is vibrating like a Nokia phone on silent, traumatized by the explosion he just watched in 4K resolution. Taira, completely oblivious and clearly not reading the room, strolls up wiping sweat off his forehead and asks, did we get the snacks? Ryuta just whispers a shaky, sorry, and Taira steps closer, probably expecting an empty box. Instead, he looks over the edge and sees the charbroiled remains of leopard print lady in the ravine. Taira tries to pull a must be a mannequin defense, but Ryuta shuts that down. It's a real body. He explains the meta. She beat him to the loot, but a camper with a mine beat her to the punch. Ryuta is paralyzed, realizing that if he had slightly better cardio, he'd be the one extra crispy right now. Taira wonders what kind of loot is worth dying for, but then answers his own question. It was probably just a sandwich. The camera pans to another parachute landing in the forest, because the devs know exactly how to keep the pacing up. Ryuta is ready to rage quit. He argues that risking death for a bite to eat is stupid and turns to leave. But Taira refuses to fold. The old man drops some wisdom, using war metaphors and spider analogies to explain that starvation is just a slow game over screen. If they get weak, they lose to the well-fed tryhards. It's not about hunger, it's about stats. Ryuta realizes the old man is right. Seeing the tension break, Taira decides to humble brag. He claims he used to be a college track star, then immediately pats his gut and admits he's cultivated some mass since then. It's a classic dad joke, and it works. Ryuta laughs, finally relaxing. Taira promises they'll bail if it looks dangerous, and with their morale restored, they prep for round 2. They scramble down the cliff like mountain goats. Ryuta is locked in and Taira lets out a shout, which is frankly adorable for a guy running toward a potential death trap. But now, folks, grab a bucket, because we are diving into the backstory of the creepy frog kid, Kusuke Kira. We flash back to the world's worst family vacation. Kusuke is walking with his dad and their lawyer, Natsume. The dad is sweating buckets and ranting about how his life is over, while Natsume tries to play peacemaker. The tension snaps, and Father of the Year turns his rage on Kusuke, blaming the kid for ruining everything. He looks back and sees Kusuke smiling like a demon. Enraged by the lack of remorse, Dad knees his own son in the stomach. Kusuke hits the dirt, retching, while Natsume begs the guy to stop. But Dad screams that violence is the only language the brat speaks. And here is the exposition dump that explains why Kusuke is the way he is. He's a monster created by abuse. He started with petty crimes, leveled up to violence, and eventually committed unspeakable acts against 3 women. The public wanted the death penalty, and honestly, can you blame them? But Natsume, the lawyer, pulled a Better Call Saul maneuver. He argued Kusuke was mentally incompetent based on a bad test score and got the kid a reduced sentence. The public went nuclear. Everyone hated them. And in a twist of poetic justice, or just really efficient kidnapping, all 3 of them, the abuser, the enabler, and the monster, were thrown onto the island together. It's the worst sitcom cast imaginable. Back in the flashback, Natsume tries to be a therapist. He tells Kusuke, "You hurt people because you can't hurt your dad," which is accurate, but maybe not the best time for a session. He promises to protect Kusuke if the kid obeys him, so they can win their appeal. Kusuke listens with a face that says, "I am plotting your demise," but stays silent. Then the dad yells, "Move your ass," and Kusuke's trigger gets pulled. He spots a frog, grabs it, and squish. 101, he shouts. "Yeah, Natsume, your therapy is working wonders." He just turned Kermit into paste. Back in the present, Ryuta and Taira are sprinting through the woods. Taira is gasping for air, clutching his side, but refuses to slow down. He's got the spirit of a champion and the cardiovascular system of a smoker. Meanwhile, Kusuke's dysfunctional group has already reached the target. The silver case is stuck high in a tree because gravity hates them. Kusuke's dad, displaying the problem-solving skills of a brick, demands one of Kusuke's bombs to knock it down. When Kusuke hesitates, Dad wrestles the explosive away from him. He's holding a timer-type bomb, laughing darkly, trying to figure out how to arm it so he can blow up a tree to get a snack. Genius. Absolute genius. The confrontation is set, and it's going to be messy. Kusuke's dad is trying to figure out how to arm a stolen bomb. He's fumbling with it, yelling, probably asking to speak to the manager of Explosive. He hands it to Natsume, who points out the obvious. It's biometrically locked. You can't just steal someone's kill streak reward and expect it to work. Disgusted, Dad throws the bomb in the dirt and orders Kusuke to do it. Kusuke, silent as ever, picks it up. He activates it with a touch, sticks it to the tree. No fireball, no boom. It's an implosion. A spherical vacuum eats a chunk of the tree trunk like a hungry Pac-Man. It's clean, it's quiet, and it's terrifying. The tree groans and snaps, crashing down in a cloud of dust. The loot is secured. Dad rushes over, praising Kusuke, but only because the kid was useful. He pops the case open, and it's basically a convenience store starter pack. Energy bars, cup noodles, flashlight, and vodka. Because nothing helps survival like being hammered in a jungle. Dad's greed kicks in immediately. He snaps the case shut, slings it over his shoulder, and declares himself the god of snacks. "Anyone who wants to eat, follow me," he barks. He's holding the cup noodles hostage. What a power move. Natsume, the lawyer who thinks he can argue his way out of a death match, chases after him, demanding a fair split. Dad stops, turns around, and drops a line that hits harder than the implosion. "There ain't no cops here." He reminds Natsume that civilization is canceled. The law is dead. The guy with the beef jerky makes the rules. The argument escalates. Dad starts quoting Darwin, saying, "Only the strong survive," which is rich coming from a guy who can't even arm a bomb. Kusuke mutters, "You scumbag," under his breath. Bad move, kid. Dad grabs Kusuke by the groin, because apparently physical abuse wasn't enough, and starts taunting him about heavy petting. It's vile. Kusuke screams and shoves his father away. But in that split second of contact, beep. Whether it was an accident or a Freudian slip of the finger, Kusuke plants an implosion BIM right on his dad's chest. The device arms. Natsume freezes. Dad looks confused. And Kusuke? He starts crying, but a twisted little smile creeps onto his face. The abuse is about to end. Permanently. The BIM activates. The vacuum starts sucking in Dad's shirt. Natsume screams, "Take off your shirt," which is good advice, but about 3 seconds too late. Shwoom. The implosion deletes Dad's head and upper torso. Just gone. Deleted from the server. The void vanishes and a fountain of blood erupts, drenching Kusuke. The headless corpse stands there for a second, doing a gruesome impression of a fountain before collapsing. And Kusuke? He doesn't scream. He doesn't run. He stands there, covered in his father's blood, and starts giggling. It's the laugh of a kid whose sanity just left the building. He's free, but he's also broken. Natsume falls to his knees and vomits, realizing he is now stuck on a murder island with a patricidal maniac. "Good luck with the appeal now, buddy,"